Hi, everybody. Hi. Oh, wow. So I have people waiting. That's crazy. First off, I hope this is working because I've been dealing with this crazy internet and all of that nonsense. So first off, hi everybody. Good morning. I hope everybody's doing well. We have a lot to discuss here. I always appreciate you showing up. It means the world to me. I'm all about discussions. And so this is what my lives are about. My lives are really much about having a discussion with you, because without you and me sort of having these discussions, I truly believe we're not going to move forward in this world. So I appreciate you all so very, very much. It means that we're all doing something right. And I think that it means that we care about the trajectory of this community. And it's so sad for me to see what's happening in the LGBTQ. I'm not even going to say plus poo poo pee pee because it's annoying. But that being said, it's just sad for me to see a direction that we're taking that is not a direction of healthiness, of love, of compassion, of teaching the world about us and trying to get the world to see that we exist. We 100% do, but we don't want to. I mean, as far as I know, our community has never wanted to take space from other people. Our community has wanted to exist in the world. And so, because I don't see that, and I think a lot of us don't see that, is why we start to show up together. So I'm trying to create a community, and not just LGBT people here. I'm trying to create a community of people, if that makes sense. And as a transsexual person, and as many of my friends who are in the LGBTQ community, and not, I have many people in my life who are not LGBTQ, which I think is awesome. And I want to encourage that to many of you out there, that you all start to have a more diverse friendship base, as well as a diverse community. Because if you don't, and you only live in that space, you're only going to get that kind of feedback, and you're not going to get any other sort of way of thinking. And so that's why I really want my lives to sort of spark communication that we're not having, and spark ideas that we're not having, because we're scared. We are all scared to have what we have here in our little space every Wednesday. People are scared of these conversations. And so I am very lucky that I am not scared. I am very lucky that I feel very empowered to have these conversations. And I feel very lucky to have people like you really not only support what I'm doing, but really participate in this idea of free speech, free opinion, free ideas. That's why I live in the United States of America. This idea now that the United States is no, go live in another country. Go do it now. And you tell me whether or not I've traveled the world. I've lived in other countries. I've been everywhere. I come back here because I do value being an American, and I do value the rights we have here. And you don't even know what you have until you don't have it. Know that. You do not know what you have until you don't have it. You've got to look around. You've got to stop saying you don't have anything. Why are you not saying I have instead of you're saying I don't have? People don't look at the things that are around you. I have so much. And I'm not just talking about all the the cool things that are, this or whatever. I'm talking about I have so much because I value what I have over what I don't have. And that is such a big part of my life. Because if you're always seeking to have things that you don't have, you forget that you literally have stuff. And that should be such a huge value to your life. It should be a huge value. But we're being taught, especially in this community, to be so divisive about everything. Why? Why do you want to be so divisive? Why do you want to only look at the negative? Why don't you want to look at the positive? When you keep saying trans rights, we have a shit ton of trans rights. How do I know that? Because I come from 30 years ago where we had nothing. And today you can literally get the insurance company to pay for your transition. My God, please look at that as something so huge. You can't even imagine what we had to do back in the day. And I'm going to keep telling you that. Start to look at what you have and not what you don't have. So with that, I'm going to take off my glasses because for some reason I'm having a hard time reading the little the little writing, because that's me getting old. But anyways, friends, so here we go. I want to really discuss gender non-conformity. Okay. And again, whenever you want to ask me questions or whatever, I'll bring you up on stage and we'll have that. But why do I want to discuss this? Because of the kids. Y'all know how I feel about the kids. Y'all know that I don't particularly think it's smart to transition a 10-year-old. Now, with that, I have a new video coming out with a new amazing interview with a 17-year-old transgender girl. Now, as you know, I push back on transitioning, underage or young people. But this interview really changed a lot of the way I feel. Now, that being said, I also don't think everything is black and white. I always think there's exceptions to the rule. I always think that there could be one or two young people, 15 or 16, that might really benefit from I do not believe a 10-year-old can benefit. I believe somebody who's gone through puberty and to the other side could possibly benefit. And this next interview that's coming out today, you'll see, I'm not going to give any more of that, but you'll see there's a difference between a 10-year-old transitioning and somebody who's done a lot of work mentally for X amount of years and then chooses to take the route of transition. That's a whole other level. Oh, hey, buddy. Oh, nice that you showed up. I appreciate you. Thank you, dude. Thank you so much. It means a lot to me. So here's what I want to discuss about gender non-conformity. Okay. Gender. Oh, thank you. Thank you, friend. This also means a lot to me. This right here really means a lot to me. We live in an age when we can get someone sacked from their job for not using the right pronouns, and yet they scream trans rights. That's right. That's right. It's so gross. So here, yeah, you inspire me to speak up when it comes to the kids, Buck. That's all. We need to understand what it means to transition a child. I don't think, we have these people called trans activists. I'm sorry, trans allies. Trans allies can be very dangerous, just so you know. Just so you know, they can be very dangerous because they take on what they're being told, but they're not trans. So they don't necessarily have this. So I'm going to use the analogy of a white person who gets on board with Black Lives Matter, but doesn't understand what it means to be a Black person and continues to overspeak Black people. It's cringy. I hate it. There's a difference between being an ally and sort of standing back and just saying, I acknowledge you, I get it, but letting the people who it actually affects have the voice. So when I see all these trans allies who are not trans speaking over me or calling me a TERF or calling me transphobic, that should say everything to you all. If you're a trans ally, you're not trans, but you're a trans, and you speak over a trans person or you call trans people names, you don't need to be an ally because you're not. You're not. You can't attack people in the community that you are supposedly an ally, but you pick and choose. You pick and choose which trans people you're going to support. That's not an ally. That's something else. That means you have an agenda. That means you're only hearing from one side of the story. I disagree with transitioning young children, period. It doesn't mean I'm transphobic. It doesn't mean I want kids to kill themselves. It means none of the above. It means slow down, people, and stop acting like you know better than me, who has 30 years of transition time under my belt. I know a lot. And if you don't want to hear it, I'm very okay with that. It's why I build my own platform and have my own people who do want to listen. But if you don't want to listen and you want to challenge me, challenge me. But do not call me names, and do not call me a TERF, and do not call me transphobic or the funny new one for me, you all you out there, the funniest one to me is when I get called a grifter. A grifter. Could you imagine me? It's sure a long grift. I've been doing this a long time, so it's most definitely a long ass grift. If anyone's the grifter, it's the ones who transitioned yesterday and telling people like us that we're wrong. I think those are the actual grifters. So So with that, let's talk a little bit about gender nonconformity around the youth today. Okay. And so that could be anyone from, 9, 10 years old playing with their gender all the way up into the 20s playing with their gender, right? That's what gender nonconformity is. It's not conforming to these ideas of stereotypes, right? It is a very easy conception to not be rigid stereotypes. Isn't that what we have been doing forever in the last 30, 40 years? We have worked hard to get rid of gender stereotypes. So gender nonconforming can exist without feeling that you need to be punched into one. So what I see in this new trans space, right? And this new ideology and this new desire to transition a kid if they don't fit into the rigid mold of something, or if a 10-year-old says I'm trans, that's actually a very dangerous thing to do. We, as far as I'm concerned, are going back. When you start saying that a kid cannot be different or not sort of be sucked into these gender stereotypes and they're automatically labeled as trans or even non-binary, make my friend. Kids need to find their space. I was gender non-conforming as a kid. People might call me trans as a kid. I wasn't a trans kid. I was a kid who was dealing with some disorder. Who knows what it was at the time, in the 70s. I was a tomboy. I live many lives, people, and I'm so grateful for the universe to give me those opportunities. Now, 60-year-old, I can say that, okay? I can say that. Yeah, my audio, is it okay now? Sorry, the fucking internet is a joke. I'll figure it out. I'm trying to think I should use it from platform. I'm using StreamYard, and it doesn't seem to be so on top of it side. But anyway, just tell me off if you get me or something on here. We'll figure it out. Oh, wait. So see, stuff's coming up. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So anyway, yeah, I'm freezing. Am I frozen now? Anyway, I'm just going to keep speaking. Whatever. Sounds like a Martian. Right on. Is it still doing it? Oh, I see. Yeah. Okay. Hold on. Let me see. How's that? Is that a little bit better? How's that? So, see, thanks for telling me that. I'm actually going to call my, no, I think it's this platform. I think it's StreamYard. I actually do, because every time I use Riverside, it doesn't do this. Right. So it's very weird. So, yeah, I don't know where Seth is. He's usually here. Now my audio is low. Okay. How is it now? How is it now? Is it a little bit better? Okay. Is that a little bit better? So let me just keep talking and you guys keep giving me feedback. Okay, great. Thank you. Appreciate it. So here's what I want to say, and I want to open it up to all you. I have to be out of here at 12:45 because guess what? Oh, before I move forward, guess what? I have really great news. I have really great news. I am having a meeting with my literary agent today. So I have to leave a little bit early. But guess what? The book is happening. I'm so excited. I waited to release my book for a long time. It just never felt like the right time. But I think now it couldn't be a better time for me to be releasing my book. So I have to tell you, it's been a journey to do this book, and it's still a journey, and it's been extremely difficult to write my book. Here's why. Let me tell you why. I feel more comfortable speaking. I would consider myself a more of a public speaker, and I feel very comfortable speaking in front of people, and I feel very comfortable with crowds, all of that. But for some reason, when I put my fingers to the keyboard, I just lose sight. I just lose sight of what I'm talking about. And it's like a block that happens to me. And so what I realize is writing is a skill. Okay. Writing is a skill. Writing is a most definitely something that people have. Same with speaking. I think it's a skill. And so I just wasn't comfortable writing. And every time I would get writer's block every single time. So then I realized, you know why? You know why I got writer's block and why it happened to me is because I had to start reliving experience of mine that I worked on for many, many, many years. If I didn't go to therapy, I would not be this person. But for me, and I still go to therapy. 30 years later, I still go to therapy. But that being said, it was really every time I started to write about the experiences I was having back in the day, it just made me stop because I had such insane experiences. You're not even going to believe it. You're just not. Sometimes when I'm writing or putting stuff down in thought, I just can't believe the life I've lived and that I'm here today. And it's the reason I'm writing the book is because of you. And because I do believe many people will benefit from my story, not trans people. My book isn't about trans. It's about living and becoming and finally finding out who you are. And it took me years to figure out who I am. I mean, that's why I can tell you that I don't believe a 13-year-old, a 12-year-old can actually know who they are. They can't. They haven't lived enough time on this earth to know who you are. I'm not even sure if I know who I am at 60. Does that make sense? Like the fact that we put such pressure on a young person to just all of a sudden be who they are, and that's going to be who you are for the rest of your life is absurd, absurd upon in itself. And so my book really is about finding myself from years and years of not only suffering, turmoil, happiness, sadness, near death experiences, alcoholism, drug addiction, cutting. I mean, should I go on? Should I go on? I mean, so it really, I don't want my book to be sort of shelved in the LGBT section. I want my book to be shelved in the section that says, I made it and you can too. That's where I want my book to be. Oh, thank you, friend. That means a lot to me. I appreciate that. Thanks, Kay. Thanks for the world's worst right on. For the world's worst grifter. How terrible you want to save kids for shame. Congrats. I know that's so brilliant. Thank you for that. Perfect. That perfect response there. So I do. I care about the kids. I don't care what anybody says about me. I don't care that there's people in this community that think I'm trash and that I'm destroying the community. I don't care because in my heart, I know exactly what I'm doing. I am focused beyond. I'm a focused person if you didn't know that. When I get my teeth in something, I'm not releasing until I feel comfortable to release. You can never tell me to release. And that's what my book is also going to bring to the world is look, you can live through suffering. You can live through turmoil. You can even live through near death experiences. You can make it to the other side, whatever that means. So you don't think that I don't have suffering today? Of course I do. If you ever think just anything is going to just never make you suffer again, you're not actually living in reality. You will never not suffer. That's not true. It depends on what kind of suffering, what is suffering to you, right? Because suffering to me might be different than suffering to you. It's relative. Everyone has a different idea of what suffering is. But today we have this idea, stamp it. You're going to make the kids suffer and not. But how do you know they're suffering? How do you actually know that? Who told you that a 10-year-old who's not transitioning is going to suffer? Who told you that? And how do you know that for a fact? That's not a fact. That is not. Now, like I said earlier, there's Black. Life is suffering. And, of course I can say this at 60. And when a 15-year-old hears me, they're like, well, Buck, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, no. No, no, no. Suffering is actually an important part of living. They sort of join together. Because again, I'm going to tell you, suffering is relative. What's suffering to me might be different than you. But at the same time, if we start telling kids or trying to shield them from any type of suffering, what are you doing? You think there's not going to be another kind of suffering? You're only exchanging one type of suffering for another type of suffering. When you give a child medicine, that they will now be reliant upon for the rest of their lives. How is that not suffering in itself? You see what I'm saying? How is that not suffering? Every week when I have to do my testosterone, on some level, I'm suffering because I have to get the needle out. I have to shoot the testosterone. I have a little anxiety around it. It's something I have to do. I cannot not do it. On some level, that's a little bit of suffering for me because I get a little anxiety. It's like a whole thing. So my suffering did not go away on some level. It just became a different kind of suffering. So this idea that if you don't let a child transition, you are creating suffering for them is no, no, I will not take that as any kind of form of fact or reality. That is somebody's opinion about a certain situation. It is not a fact. And I'm a fact-based tranny who believes in facts, believes if you show me that transitioning a 10-year-old, that they will move on to be the most amazing human being ever, you can't show me that because we don't have that. In all the studies that have been done in the whole wide world, they don't show that. They show the opposite of that. This country, United States of America, is moving forward on this idea of medicalizing children in order to stop them from suffering. Where the world, Europe, has been doing this for 30 plus years before us, is saying the opposite of what the United States is saying. So who are you going to actually believe? Are you going to believe the people who actually have the studies for 30 plus years and stopped doing what we in the United States have now picked up and are moving forward and are putting out lies that this is actually okay and it's normal and it's good for kids? Who are you going to believe? I want to see. Well, this is right. Puberty is necessary for cognitive and emotional development. We all know the brain is not fully developed until 25. That's an actual fact. So when you put in a medication that is a blocker to stop the puberty, which is the hormonal space, you are now interrupting developmental things that need to be done for a human. I don't care what sex you are, for a person, a human, to be able to move forward in the world healthy. Let me remind you all this. Let me remind you of this. Hold on one second here. Isn't that very interesting? They know because it's already happening in their exactly. Let me remind you of this. Puberty. Every single solitary human being, unless you have a disorder, which is, again, a very small amount of people in this world, go through puberty. Trans, and I use that very loosely, children do not have bad puberty. They are going through normal, healthy puberty. Do you hear what I'm saying? They have no physical problems. Trans kids. There's nothing physically wrong with them. They are actually in a healthy body. What's going on with the kids is in the brain. But in this country, we are swapping them out and we're doing the physical transition before we ever even connect to the mental situation. Can you believe that? Do you know that? They are not even doing mental health on these children before they start to add medication to this child's young, healthy, very important part of this message here, healthy. There is nothing not healthy because it's here. The kid, which sucks, I understand that. My dysphoria is the same way. My brain doesn't match my body. So I had to work on my brain In order for me to move forward to my body, I worked on my brain for 2 years to understand as an adult. So now we're going to hand this over to a 10-year-old with no understanding at all of this dysphoric space in their brain that could not even possibly be connected to trans. It could be connected to homosexuality. It could be connected to just body dysmorphia. It could be connected to anxiety, depression, some trauma going on over here, but you're not looking at over here. You're only looking at right here. I don't understand how we got here. I don't understand. It's a logical based thing that I'm saying. Corey says, how do you feel about the trans activists taking a shot at Florida? They're just totally going to try to derail everything. What you call the trans activists, who some are not trans. I think I spoke about that a little earlier. Some of these trans activists aren't even trans. You know that? They're trans allies becoming activists, yet they're not even trans. So I have an issue with the trans activism these days. I find it to be very mean. I find it to be very forceful. I find it to be very scary. I don't think they want to build a coexisting space in the world. I think they want to override everybody, and anyone who has a different opinion gets totally shut down. That's not activism. That's not activism. That's bringing some kind of indoctrination to the table. So this is what hurts the actual trans space, is when activism, okay, or ideology gets looked at like it's some kind of activism. When I disagree, it's not activism, because it doesn't speak for me, and it doesn't speak for a lot of other trans people who agree with some of the things that are happening in this country. And we agree with the shutting down of these gender clinics for 10-year-olds. So I don't care if you hate me, and I don't care if you think what I'm saying is transphobic, because you're wrong. And I'll continue to say it alongside all of my other trans friends and trans brothers and sisters who feel the same way as I do, because here we come, and we're not shutting up, and you won't shut us up. And we're making headway. We are. Actually, the world is hearing us. Everybody is seeing us. People are starting to say things like, wait a minute here, maybe Buck, maybe Blair, maybe Marcus, maybe Ariel, maybe so-and-so are all saying something we should listen to. It is why you try to shut our voices down. We're not dumb. We know that. You try to silence us. So for me, when people try to silence you, what does that mean? Well, let's say you're just doing stuff that you disagree with in the world, right? And then a whole group of people come in and just try to literally, they're doing this to me. Don't say it. What does that say to you? What does that say to you when a whole group of your community, right? Your whole, not all of them, but a group just try to silence your thoughts? What does that say to you? Because I'll tell you what it says to me. It says I'm doing something right. Because why are you trying to silence me instead of having a conversation, right? What I spoke of last week, losing my friends, my supposed friends who wanted to actually have conversation with me, my supposed friends who couldn't have a conversation with me, my supposed friends who blasted me on the internet like immature children. That's what I see coming from that community. No one wants to create a space where we all can live. They don't want to do that. That's why I don't align with them. They don't want to align with you. I want to align with you, and I want to be part of the world. I don't want to be separate. I don't want to be this trans guy over here, like angry and I need my testosterone. I don't want that at all. I've never wanted that. I've always wanted to, on some level, assimilate into the world and be very honest about why I am this person, and be very honest about my mental disorder, and be because when I'm honest to you, you're honest to me. And then that's how we become friends. And that's how we can actually have these sort of conversations, right? No, Artie's great. Let me see. Artie, where is this? Christina. Oh, hey, how you doing, Christina? Oh, Artie Morty, you guys, everyone. Yeah, he's great. Love him. He's so smart, so right on. I just really love that guy a lot. He's excellent. So, um, I want to get back to this gender non-conformity thing. Oh, I don't know. Here's also what I want to ask all you. Did you guys see the statement from GLAAD today? I think if you're watching me on Twitter or whatever, I retweeted. But did you see the statement from GLAAD today against the New York Times? I'm sure you all read about the whistleblower, right? Did we all read about the whistleblower who finally somebody stepped up, a woman who happens to have a trans male partner? I hope you all um, right on. I hope that you all read that testimony from Jamie Reed and the whistleblowing in the free press. Such an important oh gosh, if anyone has the link here in the comments box, I would highly appreciate it if somebody can put the link to the and if not, I'll repost it on Twitter. You can go there, but or else just Google it. I think it's Jamie Reed, Free Press, Whistleblower. Just do that. And if anyone could put that here, I really appreciate it a lot. You all need to read it. You all need to read it. It is an extremely important. This person, this woman, she whistleblowed. She did on the whole stuff me and you have been talking about. Bam. You are gonna be blown away what this woman said. She basically, in a nutshell, she worked for the gender clinic at the University of Washington, St. Louis. Okay, and I actually spoke at that university years ago. She worked there for 4 years. And in the 4 years, what she had to deal with was literally telling them, hey, wait a minute here. This is weird. I don't agree with this. Or you're rushing kids through this. And they would just continue to tell her to shut up and just do her work. I mean, it's mind blowing. What she's going to tell you, we all knew was happening. And they don't want you to know. And she finally blew it out. And now people are investigating these gender clinics that are supposedly pro healthy transitioning of kids when they're not. They're not. They're just push. I think it's Jamie, Jamie. I might be wrong, but I think it's Jamie Reed, Reed. Can somebody try to find it real quick here? I'd love if you could post it for everybody to see. That would be fantastic. So it's you not able to find. Look under free. It's at the Free Press. Oh, did you put it, Solar? Oh, thank you. Yeah, it's on the Free Press. It's like the Free Press paper, and then you'll find it. You'll find it. Read it. Everybody read it. Read it, read it, read it. Okay? Yeah, Jamie Reed. Read it. And I think she's going to start going on shows and all of that stuff. So of course, this real quick here. The community is trying to debunk this actual woman's experience. So this is why they're trying to shut her up, calling her all kinds of names. And we all know that when a group of people do that, it's sketchy. So they're acting sketchy. Okay, it's in the New York Post too, but it originally got into the Free Press, which is Barry Weiss's publication. So very important read. All of you read it because things are starting to happen. So on top of that, today, GLAAD, which is the Gay Lesbian Alliance Against Defamation, right? Remember that. What does GLAAD stand for? Does anybody know? Did I just say it right? Gay Lesbian Alliance Against Defamation. I think that's what it stands for, right? So they're now become a hugely pushing trans issues. Wait, what happened to gays and lesbians? They don't even talk about gays and lesbians anymore. They only talk about trans. So they released a statement that they're pushing back on the New York Times for being transphobic. Now, remember, these are the same people that used to praise the New York Times. That, oh, they're so great. They're just, and then we were all like, but wait a minute. The New York Times is supposed to be unbiased. All journalism is supposed to be unbiased, and we know it's not. But that being said, finally, the New York Times started putting things in there saying, hey, wait a minute, maybe something is actually happening here. So GLAAD freaked out. So this is so great. GLAAD freaked out, and it's now, that's transphobic. You're being transphobic, New York Times. No, they're not. They're being journalists. And they're actually starting to print the other side of the story. That's real journalism. And to be honest with you, I am no longer a fan of GLAAD. They have lost their way. ACLU lost their way. They're all just trans rights groups now. That's all they are. They don't represent me because I don't believe what they're saying. So how can they represent a whole community when there's many trannies like me who don't agree with a lot of the trans narrative? How is that a representative of me? It's not. And it's actually not even a representative of the whole trans community. It's only representing the loudest voices. Remember that. When these organizations that are supposed to be about human rights, so when you say human rights, that means everyone, not just someone. You can't just pick and choose what human rights are more important than other human rights. You have to represent all of it. If you're going to say you are an organization for gays and lesbians and blah, blah, where you have to represent those voices too. You can't just represent one group of people. That's not a real actual organization. That now becomes an ideology. That now becomes cult-like on some level. But they're not listening to people like us. They're not listening. They only listen to the people with the loudest voices. But guess what? That's changing. The loudest voices is changing. And people like us are starting to stand up and say, wait a minute, we've had enough of this. I got a couple more minutes here before I got to go meet with my agent, which I'm really excited because I'm just excited for the first time in a long time to bring my book to the world. And I do feel there couldn't be a better time for this, especially for parents. I really feel so sad for parents right now. I think parents are being blackmailed. I think parents are being put in a position to have to make choices for their children they should never, ever have to make. And as a parent, I'm a parent. You all know that. I would be totally freaked out if that was where I was at, because all a parent wants is the best for their child. That's all they ever want. So if you're dangling this thing that in front of a parent's face that says, if you don't do this, your child is going to kill themselves. Let's just be honest. Every parent is going to do what the doctor told them to do, because in this country, we just think doctors are God. Most people aren't going to do their due diligence, nor do they have the places to do due diligence. They don't have, there's only one side of the story out there. There's not other sides of that. Wait a minute, slow down. Don't transition your child just because they say so. You got to take a little time. Now, of course, I'm going to say it again. There's always exceptions to the rule. There might be a trans kid out there. But what I will tell you is this: I will never change my mind about puberty blockers, ever. Puberty blockers are disgusting. They're wrong. They have nothing to do with being trans. They have everything to do with an agenda, so that this child doesn't grow up with attributes of a man and a woman. So you see what I'm saying? Puberty blockers are physical. Transition and trans is a mental disorder. It's not a physical disorder. The mind does not connect to the body. So yeah, we have to change the physical, but you can't change the physical until you change the mental. And once the mental is stable enough to understand what you're about to do, what I did is not only irreversible, it's also life-changing. It could be life-changing for good. It could be life-changing for bad. It depends on the actual individual's ride with this transition. We're not all the same. Oh, okay. Thanks. Sorry about that, friend. Yeah. Let me find something here. Put puberty blockers are reversible. Okay. I'm just going to pretend like I didn't read that. Or is that a joke? Because any kind of medicine you put inside a child's body is not reversible. Any medicine you put in a body is not reversible. That's not true. So I just don't understand how we got. I don't understand how we got there. I just don't understand. Okay, so I got to get out of here. That's right. It's a joke. It's an actual joke. Is it a joke? Are we joking with kids? It's so sad. It's just so sad. I don't understand. I don't understand why we want to mess with kids. Why would we ever want to do that? It's the reason we're in this situation now. Yeah. And that's right. Trans get more fundraising. It's right. It's about money, right? So I that's what I see. Okay. That's what I see. So here, let me just get rid of this. Sorry, I talk. That's just me. So I gotta go, my friends. And what I want to say before I go is this: if your child is gender nonconforming, let them be. Let them be. Gender nonconforming is not a bad thing. Let them be. Let them find. Let them explore. Let them. Don't give words to them. Don't let them think they can change their sex, because they can't. Don't give them false hope. Don't do any of that. Just let them be. And if you don't have to medicalize your child, which you don't have to do, don't do it. And I'm telling you, as a transsexual, okay? As a transsexual, I just really don't believe that this can actually move us forward. I believe it's going to hurt us on so many levels. I believe it's going to take us out. I believe it's going to do so many things to the trans rights space. It's going to enable people to take rights we have now and take them away from us and never give them back. And so that's what I want to say. I really value all of you. These conversations mean a lot to me. I just want you to think about where we're headed as a community and why we don't and why we can't have conversation with each other. It's kind of sad to me, and it's turned into a space that we now on some level fight each other, when we should be fighting the actual people who don't want us to be here, who don't want to see us be a success, who don't want to see us get our medicine. Those are the people we need to fight, not each other. You can disagree with me all you want. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Disagreement is okay, and it's healthy, and it's solid. It doesn't mean I have to change my mind, and it doesn't mean you have to change your mind. It just means that we have a disagreement. And if you don't understand how important it is to have these disagreements and how important it is to acknowledge these disagreements, then you're not in a community anymore. You're in something else, because community has disagreements. We always have, we always will. But most important part of that is we have an ultimate goal with each other. And the ultimate goal is for us to be able to live how we want to live. However we want to live as adults should be nobody else's issue. But when you bring children into a thing like this, you have to be prepared to answer for that. So that's it. Love all you guys. See you. See you. Have a great day. Go read that article from Jamie Reed. I would appreciate it if you all did. And then next Wednesday, we'll have a discussion about it. Okay. So thanks again for always joining me. Thanks again for seeing my intentions here. Thanks again for understanding what community is, and wish me luck on my next appointment right now. Sending everybody a bunch of love. Have an awesome, beautiful day.